everybody, SonGoshuaku here, ready to review the first ever Monday Night WWE Raw on Netflix. Alright, so basically kicking things off right here. So I thought the set right off the bat was really awesome. We had this really cool intro that gave the entire history of professional wrestling. Very well done. There was some controversy though, among some of the fandom, because in this package, they were just openly right there on the television using the terms heels, faces, all that stuff, talking about the good guy versus the bad guy. So it was crazy that we were actually getting stuff like that. While it's great to know that behind the scenes, on television, yeah, I can see why a lot of the fans didn't like them using it. But at the end of the day, it is 2025, and I'm pretty sure we all are very much aware of this stuff, because at the end of the day, hey, we know wrestling is a work. We just want to enjoy the characters and the storytelling. But I thought the video package that said was really well done. And of course, you had the man himself, the Game, Triple H, who ended up doing the intro for this, and it was fantastic to see him out there, basically saying, "Are you ready?" and all that stuff and everything. Like I said, I have nothing but a lot of praise for what Triple H has done since taking over creative. Very few times have I found myself, it's been a very few times that I've found myself going ahead with some head-scratching decisions made from his booking, compared to when his father-in-law was the main person in creative, going back to the late 20-teens, particularly. But yeah, that was really cool. So I thought it was a great way to start the show off, because look at that. That whole set was just amazing, the upper part of that. So as the show starts, we kick things off with the most electrifying man in all of entertainment, The Rock, aka also basically my second favorite all-time wrestler, superstar, compared to, let's say, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's my number one. But yeah, it was great to see The Rock confirmed, I think the day before that he was going to be here, came out in the final boss attire, and basically any of us that's been watching WWE, obviously, over the last year, we were absolutely hyped for this, because at last we're finally getting some answers here. What is the path set for WrestleMania 41? What's gonna go down here with Cody Rhodes? What's gonna go down here with Roman Reigns? What is The Rock gonna say to kick us off to the road of WrestleMania? And of course, the first thing The Rock does is he's shaking hands, and he's when he said that he was going to basically a huge record is broken, I'm thinking, oh, he's gonna break out the old trailer park trash gathering line or joke that he did. But no, he said this is the highest gate, because I'm guessing they must have charged an arm and a leg for these tickets, obviously, here. And yeah, The Rock was very much in babyface mode here, and he was thanking all the Netflix executives and everything, because obviously this wouldn't have been possible without them. And then he says he wants to go ahead and make two things very clear. The first thing is he points at Cody Rhodes and says, "I want to thank you, brother, for going ahead and carrying this company on your back." Wow. Okay, that's quite a stern, quite the huge contrast from where we left off last time, when The Rock was in the ring with Cody Rhodes and basically saying that, "Don't you ever break my heart again," and saying that whether you're champion or not, The Rock's coming back for you. And of course, he showed up at Bad Blood, and did like the whole 3 count and then the cutthroat symbol thing, gesture. And here he's just thanking Cody, and he even goes ahead and does a little lighthearted joke saying, "By the way, Cody Rhodes, how's Mama Rose?" And Cody just starts laughing up and everything, and everybody's laughing along with it. And I mean, yeah, this is probably cool when they're behind the scenes backstage, but I think, like most of you, I'm thinking, where's the story? How does this play into the story, right? Like, it's okay if Dwayne Johnson and Cody want to, do this stuff behind the scenes, but where are we at on the story? So it did look a little confusing there. And then he goes ahead and says, as far as tonight goes, when it comes to Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns, he wants to make it very clear that he acknowledges Roman Reigns as the true tribal chief. And then after this, he hits the whole, "If you smell what The Rock is cooking," and leaves. oh, okay, I guess we're done then, like that. Just like that, the beef with him and Cody, they squashed it. It must have been done off screen, or maybe we just got fast forwarded to a whole year or something, obviously it was going to come down to this, The Rock endorsing Cody Rhodes, but usually I think that would be after Cody Rhodes beat him, because he would gain respect for him. This feels a lot like, as I mentioned in my SummerSlam review and ranking, is that I felt when it came to Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes match that they had a couple of years ago for SummerSlam, it felt like in terms of story build-up, that rivalry kind of really missed the mark. But in terms of the matches and in terms of the amazing payoff at the end with Cody Rhodes getting endorsed by Brock Lesnar, all that was fantastic. It's like that match just needed some better build up in the story, so that we could understand what was going on here. This one feels the opposite. We actually got a tremendous build up with The Rock and Cody Rhodes. They obviously had to pivot it and make certain things work for this, obviously, but when it got going, boy, was it good. And we thinking we're gonna have this big old match here, and then it's gonna eventually end with The Rock endorsing Cody Rhodes, but we just skipped right over to that. I am going to hold my judgment and wait and see what happens. I did see The Rock go on NXT, and it was pretty hilarious when he was talking about how he was saying, last year it was, he gotta finish the story. He's gotta finish the story. Finish the story. And then The Rock says 1 year later is, why are you being so nice to Cody now? Why so nice to Cody? And The Rock says, well, basically, all your jabronis need to do is shut your mouths, know your roles, and enjoy the ride that The Rock is taking you on. Which I have to say, that definitely gives me hope that there's going to be more to this. But just the way this played out, to be honest, though, I can't blame fans for feeling that way, because this really did, if you think about it, it read less like that The Rock is not going to be able to make this year's WrestleMania, but this has been done just as a reminder that he still has some beef with Cody, and he still got some beef with Roman, but it's going to take a little bit longer. Yeah, it read less like that and more like, we don't know when The Rock's going to be able to do this, and at this point, maybe even if The Rock is going to be able to do this. So we're just going to finish the storylines. You know what? He endorses Cody, he endorses Roman, and whatever beef there may have been, or maybe been hint at with him and Roman, and obviously what beef there was with him and Cody based on what we saw in the storyline, it's done. That's kind of what it read like, as if there's just nothing more left from here. So, overall, I know a lot of people were disappointed. Like I said, I'm going to reserve judgment and eventually wait and see what happens here. But now it's like, you really got to make this work a little bit better. And truth be told, I always kind of felt Cody Rhodes and The Rock was kind of like this unnatural feud. Essentially, yeah, Cody Rhodes, The Rock, phenomenal. But when it comes to these pro wrestling stars that are getting up there in age, and especially with how busy The Rock is and how much it takes for him to get back into ring shape, the thing is, there's only so much left in the tank there. And if that's the case, it's kind of like, okay, well, we need to do priorities here. Cody Rhodes versus The Rock, phenomenal. But if The Rock's only can really maybe muster up maybe one more match with his schedule and him getting older, then it's got to be Roman Reigns. So I would have been fine if this is pretty much was it. If this was the idea, is like, okay, him and Cody are just going to squash the beef because we want to make sure that The Rock's one next match appearance is priority towards the big match, him versus Roman. And I'll get more to that later on in this review as far as what they did with that. Overall, the segment was nice. It was pretty much Dwayne Johnson as opposed to the final boss, The Rock, but seeing how this could play into something, maybe he's basically bringing in a false sense of security. We gotta wait and see, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. One thing that has been a lot better when it comes to Triple H, the Paul Levesque era, is it does feel like your patience does get more rewarded. So I'm not going to throw in the towel on this. We're going to see what goes on. And if this basically doesn't mean, hey, we're not getting The Rock at WrestleMania 41, I'm fine with that, because I got some more things I want to say later on when it comes to where we are headed for WrestleMania. But at the end of the day, man, it's always good to see The Rock. Like I said, he's my all-time second favorite, and The Rock can, very few in the business of professional wrestling can electrify as good as The Rock can. So overall segment was, like I said, a little bit confusing because it's hard to know where things are going. Like, I guess me personally as a fan, I just wish it would have been left open-ended. If The Rock joked and been like, got serious, don't think that The Rock's done with you, Cody. Not by a long shot. Then I would have been fine. Same way when we're going to get to hear where we go for the Roman. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought, or if you're going to end up joining us live, what you thought. All right, so we get on to what was the first match of this show. Let me take a sip of water here. All right, so the first match was Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the Ulafala to decide the undisputed tribal chief. This match right here, I liked it. I thought it was great. I really want to give big props to Solo Sikoa, who really stepped it up in this match. Like, I think this would have been a worthy PLE match. Now, did I want to see this go ahead and main event WrestleMania? I don't know about that, honestly. I think there's a lot more bigger marquee matches. But Solo Sikoa, man, for so long, he was the stoic, just, stand there. He basically, is the bodyguard that does not say anything. And I knew he could talk a lot more based on what he did in NXT and stuff. And for so long, he was that. And this whole run that they did throughout 2024 with the new bloodline versus the old bloodline story arc, it really allowed, I feel, Solo Sikoa to be able to, be more of himself, put more of his personality into the microphone. I think he definitely got a lot more comfortable from where he started to where he ended up here. And I think he really nailed it out of the park. I really enjoyed the last match he had with Cody Rhodes in the steel cage match. I enjoyed the War Games match, and I enjoyed this match here. He really took it to Roman Reigns, and particularly the way the story was laid out. Roman did a great job selling for Solo, making him look a beast, and then when it came time for Solo to make Roman look like the defiant baby face and everything to make the huge comeback, it was great. The match really gelled. I was actually there in person for the very original tribal combat match between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns in person, and as I mentioned in my review for my SummerSlam review that I did for 2023, that match was okay, but it was not the best of what the Bloodline stories had offered. And I had actually thought the first two Jey matches, despite being not in front of an audience, I thought the first two matches that Roman had with Jey was better than the third match, even though it was in front of an audience. But this match was much better. This match right here, to me, just had a certain level of intensity that I felt was lacking in that very first Tribal Chief match with Roman and Jey. So I thought this was good. There was a lot of great hard-hitting action and everything, and of course there was a lot of shenanigans. Eventually we get the new bloodline coming out, and this was followed up by Cody Rhodes and Jimmy Uso and Sammy coming out, and even Kevin Owens got involved and stunned Roman Reigns. And I think that was very telling from a story standpoint, because Kevin Owens, he hates the bloodline, yet he has stooped so low to go ahead and help the new bloodline help beat the leader of the old bloodline. So that's how much he's being taken there. That was incredible. Hey, we got main event girl in the chat. Thanks for joining. She says, what did you think of Ripley winning the title back? Oh, I loved it. I'm going to actually get more to that in my review coming up, but right now we're focusing here on the Roman and Solo, so stay tuned. But man, Roman and Solo, I thought they had a fantastic match. It was a lot of shenanigans. Audience was really into the whole match, and at the end, Roman, he eventually is able to land the spear, which I think Solo kicked out of the first time, but the second time Roman lands it, 1, 2, 3, gets to Ulafala, and this is where we have The Rock coming out. So The Rock comes out, and he's doing a slow-paced walk, and the camera angles are lingering, and The Rock's not looking too happy, but he takes the Ulafala and he puts it on Roman Reigns. They do the Samoan handshake, and then they embrace, hug, and The Rock leaves the ring and gives Roman the whole ring to basically be acknowledged. And Roman is now back to being the official, the true, the only Tribal Chief. Like I said, I thought the match was great. It was a great blow off. I'm glad that they're getting done with it. But man, once again, looking back on this, it's like it felt like, okay, was The Rock gonna do a rock bottom and maybe take the Ulafala off because he is the High Chief, which I believe would be higher than being the whole deal with him being the what was that called? Being the tribal chief. Yeah, the High Chief is higher, obviously, than the tribal chief. So it's interesting. Like I said, I'm not giving up hope on this storyline. We'll see where it goes from there. But man, yeah, I would have loved to see more when it comes to The Rock, as far as progressing the stories that had already been built up so extremely well from 2024. But I'm glad to see Roman finally move on from this storyline, who I think is definitely going to be a huge contender for the Royal Rumble. And I'll talk more about that towards the end of the review as far as where I'm thinking to go with this. And now we go on to the next segment featuring John Cena. Let me get a sip of water here. Barry, I think WWE main event girl in the chat is saying Barry, Liv Morgan, Barry, Dominic, Barry, Raquel Rodriguez. Oh, okay. If I'm ringing, you said Barry, but I'm guessing you meant Barry as in the way it's used when it's not a good thing for a professional wrestler. So you might not be a fan, I assume, of how they handle that, but I will be talking more about that. But right now, John Cena. So, all right, let's be honest. For those of you, I've never been the biggest John Cena fan. During my teen years, I was on the opposite side of everybody that Cena went against and all that stuff. But obviously, I learned more about the business. I grew into a young adult, and realizing that Cena, he's just doing his job and everything, and what Vince McMahon wanted him to do. And there were certain matches where you got the 5 moves of doom, and that was it. And there was matches which is ironically my favorite match in person. I was there in 2011 at Money in the Bank when John Cena and CM Punk faced off each other. So definitely John Cena can absolutely bring it overall. Shout out to SMP in the chat. Cenafy. That's my boy SMP. We went to high school together, and he loves doing the whole trolling with the Cenafy. But that being said, man, with this whole program and everything, John Cena came out and cut a promo, and to be honest, it brought me back to so many of those throughout the 2010s where John Cena comes out, cuts a 15-minute promo, and I want to say about a good 13 minutes of it is him trying to make it seem like he's gonna go this way. And then in the last 2 minutes, he just gets a whole bunch of energy. Goes like, yeah, but I'm going that way. And it's like, yeah, we knew you were going there. We knew. So it was one of those John Cena promos. I particularly, when it comes to John Cena, I'm a bigger fan of the type of Cena promos when he's getting serious and he starts going hard in on roasting and something. That's something I've always given props for John Cena with. And of course, I did like the Doctor of Thugonomics John Cena, so I always look forward to him on the microphone roasting those people and everything. But yeah, even though, like I said, I've not been the biggest John Cena fan, this promo did what it needed to do in terms of acknowledging that yes, John Cena is going to be in the 2025 Royal Rumble, which, by the way, I actually will be attending in person. So that's going to be awesome. And the thing about Cena right there, in this promo, I think he's got to be the number one pick, honestly, as far as winning this Royal Rumble. So that's made pretty much established and everything. And something that's really cool in the press conference, Cena said that there might be a possibility that we get all different variations of the John Cena character. I personally would love to see John Cena go heel. Obviously, I know fans aren't booing him anymore and chanting the whole Cena sucks, John Cena sucks. They're obviously not doing that anymore, but I think it'd be cool just to see, hey, Cena, before he goes out, he's able to knock it out of the park and be like, boom, he went heel. He actually played this different character than what we've known him to be for the last 20 plus years. But like my boy Aaron Riff on No DQ says, John Cena at this point is respected by a majority of the audience because he is a legend. So it is what it is there. But overall, yeah, the segment did fine for what it is. All right, and now we get to the next match. Let me get another sip of water here. Liv Morgan defending the WWE Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley. So shout out to Main Event Girl in the chat. Now I can actually talk about this match. I thought the match was good. I've always thought Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley have really good chemistry. And this match was pretty much Rhea trying to overcome the odds. You had Raquel Rodriguez constantly interfering. You had Dominic Mysterio constantly interfering. What was, I would say, one of the more surprising things to me in this match, because of how well the move is protected, is that Liv Morgan actually kicked out of the Riptide. And to my knowledge, man, I can't even remember how many women on the roster have kicked out of the Riptide. I think even Nia Jax, did she kick out? She may have kicked out in one when they faced last February, but if not, I mean, she definitely ended up losing to that first one. So yeah, it's very rare that we see. So I think that was really cool. Maybe their way of making Liv Morgan look really strong before the inevitable finish, which I have to say I did really love the finish where Liv Morgan goes for the Oblivion, and before she can go ahead and get Rhea back, Rhea ends up stopping her, and they had an amazing camera shot as Liv Morgan is looking up in basically up to Rhea in fear, and Rhea's looking down like and then she goes ahead and gives her a kiss goodnight bye, kiss of death or whatever, and from there she reverses this into a Riptide and then hits a third Riptide to make sure that the job is finished once and for all on Liv Morgan, gets the 1-2-3 pin, and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Rhea Ripley is now a two-time WWE World Women's Champion. Overall, I thought this was a really good decision as far as making it take this long to get it back. Well, maybe they didn't have to drag out the feud that long, but Rhea Ripley was so dominant as the Women's World Champion, and there wasn't a lot build up for her. I think that's the reason why a lot of people, and myself included, liked at the time going on as well, was Bianca Belair's title feud, because man, she was having some really banger matches with really women who were built up a lot better versus the women that were up against Rhea. They were very talented women, but they weren't built up to that level. And I think bringing Rhea back after the injury, it's kind of like you could put the title back on Rhea Ripley around SummerSlam, but does she have any more credible challengers? And I think by the fact that they spent the rest of the year in 2024 right to here in 2025 having her feud with Liv Morgan tells you that they realize, yeah, we ain't got no other challengers built up for Rhea Ripley. I think now we do, because like Io Sky, which could be a potential WrestleMania main event, that was really well. I think that could be something very potential down the road that's going good. So we got better women, I think, built up now, or the women have been built up better now. But overall, I think this was a great reign for Liv Morgan. She really, I think, just Triple H was able to take her to the next level, to that main event level. She's got to be a bona fide main eventer now, because the way she carried herself and the whole story with Dominic and everything was really cool. I even like some of the character development we got from Rhea Ripley at the press conference, where she actually acknowledged a lot of the wrong things that she had did when it came to, like, particularly Liv Morgan and Dominic, but said how, she's beyond that now. She's a much better person. So that was really cool to see. And what's really cool to see here is at the end of the show, or as Rhea's on her way, we hear the gong go off, and out to the American Badass theme is the Undertaker in the old biker gimmick with Rhea Ripley to endorse Rhea, as they both end up doing the whole arm raise. And there was some really cool shots they had from behind where basically they're looking back towards the camera like this and everything. Like, that was really cool. Seeing the Undertaker come out and endorse Rhea Ripley, and just seeing them both side by side really makes it, with the makeup that Rhea Ripley wears, the all black, she really would have fit in well with the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness, with the Ministry of Darkness back in 1999. Obviously, she was a little girl at the time, but here, if we could get timelines mixed together, take her back then mixed with Rhea Ripley now, like, she would have fit in really well. So it's really cool to see someone of the caliber of the Undertaker's legendary status endorse Rhea Ripley. So I thought that was awesome. Definitely a really cool shot. And now we get Rhea Ripley on the path to WrestleMania 41. Honestly, I would like to finally see Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley. Like that's awesome. Now that to me is actually WrestleMania main event worthy, which is why I think they've taken so long to do it, because they want to make sure that when they have this match, it is going to be a definite main event. And with The Rock, still being up in the air in terms of whether we don't know whether he's going to be at WrestleMania 41 or not. We don't know yet. But overall, this is really cool. All right, I'm taking another break here. All right, so the next match was Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso. I think this match, especially since I've seen it several times already, I didn't think it had that big Monday Night Raw feel like the other 3 matches on this show, which had a significant amount of build-up, but the match was still really good. I would say it was probably my least favorite match of the night. Not that it was bad, but it was my least favorite. Oh, I got to mention before this, was it Travis Scott, I think is the rapper's name? I'm not that familiar with him, but he came out smoking a blunt. It is truly the Netflix era, because they would have not wanted that on probably the USA Network. And what's even funnier is you got these kids in the he's coming down the aisle smoking a blunt, and the kids are right there. And Jey Uso even joked during the press conference that he was trying to take the smoke and bring it over here and keep it away from the kids, but he said he wasn't gonna take a he wasn't going to go ahead and take one, because he obviously knew he had to work, and Triple H joked about it. He said he's glad that Jay didn't take one. But I thought that was pretty funny, but it's definitely a very much the Netflix era. Yeah, for sure. And that being said, as far as this match, the biggest shocking surprise here was that Jey Uso actually pinned Drew McIntyre clean. Got him with a crucifix when I think he was going for like the Claymore or something. But man, that was pretty cool. Jey Uso getting a big win from Drew McIntyre. So we'll see where more of this goes. I'm thinking Drew McIntyre is going to eventually get the final win and everything like that. But let's hope for big things for Jey Uso, because this man continuously stays over. It's been almost 2 years now since he's dropped out of the bloodline, and man, the dude has got so much momentum. Jey Uso for sure. Oh boy, let's talk about this one. Oh man. So, we have all-time WWE Hall of Famer, legend, the man that really is responsible for the big boom of WWE, particularly just like Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan, what they did in the 1980s. Man, I'm pretty sure if they didn't do that, I would not be here talking about pro wrestling right now. You probably all wouldn't be in the chat or commenting on this video or watching this. So yeah, I've always respected greatly Hulk Hogan for what he's done for the world of professional wrestling. That being said, I can't say I really don't have a big emotional attachment, as I was never really much into Hulk Hogan like that, because I grew up during the New Generation era, so the guys that I first got exposed to when it came to professional wrestling was Shawn Michaels, Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Razor Ramon, The Undertaker, from the mid-90s and stuff like that, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, those are like my guys that I grew up with. And of course I knew, and I kind of watched wrestling basically off and on casually. I was just a little kid at the time and everything. I wasn't thinking about like all the story this and the character that, who's going to work this, is the face, this is a good face, this is a good. I didn't watch under that mindset, so I was aware very much of the NWO, obviously. Too sweet, right? So I saw stuff like that and everything. But I didn't get hooked onto wrestling until 1998 with Stone Cold Steve Austin's rise. And so I was always, a Stone Cold and Rock guy growing up. Whereas Hogan, I really wasn't much into Hulk Hogan like that. But when I became a teenager, I started going back and looking at some of that stuff from the 80s and realized, man, Hulk Hogan was such a huge part of professional wrestling history and where he got it. So I kind of grew and had a lot more appreciation for Hulk Hogan. So like I said, I was never like, emotionally attached as I'm a 90s kid, not an 80s kid. But overall, that's kind of where I've always felt about as far as Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I've heard all the stuff about the backstage politics and everything that goes into that from others and all that stuff, and everything. We've heard all the stories and the stories that Hogan's made up and everything where, it's just they're not, some of these stuff is not true, right? That being said, Hogan got booed heavily over here. Super booed really bad. Like the boos put Dominic Mysterio and the current iteration of the New Day to shame. It made them sound like they were the most popular people on the planet. Man, they did. These people in LA, they hated Hulk Hogan with a passion, capital H hated, man. And I don't think it was politically driven either, because the Undertaker, if we're talking about like Donald Trump here, Undertaker supported Donald Trump and he was still cheered here by the same audience. So clearly it's not a political thing. I think honestly, there's been a lot of things we've heard, obviously the racial stuff as far as what Hogan said. SMP says in the chat, let me tell you something, brother. Well, clearly this audience did not want to be told anything, brother. But yeah, I think the problem is here with Hulk Hogan is everybody makes their mistakes. Everybody says things that they don't mean. But when you have it, SMP in the chat says, what you gonna do when MAGA mania runs wild on you? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there were a lot of people booing him over that. But my thing about here with Hogan, he's made his mistakes and stuff like that, but I think it's not so much making mistake. I think people want to know that you genuinely are sorry for making those mistakes. And from what it seems, and I haven't followed all these interviews or whatever Hogan, but from what I've heard and seen other people say, it feels like Hogan has not sincerely apologized. And even more recently, I think he said something about was it Kamala Harris, where he was, I guess, basically making fun of her being Native American, and he even, I guess, in the video said that something like oh, I'm gonna get heat for that, brother, or something like that. And when you do stuff like that in the public eye, it doesn't lead a good impression, especially when you end up when people already got a lot of heat for what was said in that recording over a decade ago. So it's one of these things where I feel like Hogan, he just is not understanding fully why people. I think he probably needs to do a very big, deep looking. I can't say, do I know he's like this personally? No, I don't know the man personally. I don't. But I think he is not making the right type of. I guess what I'm trying to say is he's not making the right type of sincerity that I think people want to see out of him as far as the mistakes he made. And like I said, I did him no favors just a few months ago. SMP in the chat says, I believe it's about snowball or it's about a snowball of mistakes or bad choices that he's made. And SMP also in the chat says, it's almost like in reality he's not that cool of a person, and that's why. Very good points too. I think a lot of it just comes in, like I said, we've all heard these stories about Hogan over the years, and then when you have all this other stuff piled on top of it, it's kind of like, man, it's just Hogan might really have to do some deep soul searching in terms of why people are coming at him and stuff, and that's for him to do. That's not me, that's not you, that's not anyone else out there. That's Hulk Hogan has to, like Michael Jackson once said, be the man in the mirror and look at yourself, and if you want to make the world a better place, you got to make that change and stuff. And so I think if Hogan comes out to be just show more sincerity and understanding the mistakes and how certain things that he says is not going to be, that stuff is going to hurt people, like I said, especially for those who do have a more emotional attachment to Hulk Hogan because of what he's done for professional wrestling. So that's about the best way I can put it and everything. And so, yeah, he got booed heavily here. It was great to see Jimmy Hart. Poor Jimmy Hart. He was waving that U.S. flag as hard as he could, but yeah, it didn't work. But yeah, like I said, I will always have great respect for what Hulk Hogan has done for the world of professional wrestling. He is an absolute legend. And there's there's definitely no way WWE would be what it is today. And I think that's why they bring him back, because Triple H, there's been so much story that Triple H wants to be very respectful to the legends, and he wants to make sure that these people are acknowledged for what they did. Let's see, SMP in this chat also says, and he dodged his stuff. It's like most people like Taker and Flair at least stand on their stuff and still is cool with people, but Hogan still acts brand new at times. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying is, when questioned about this stuff, I think Hogan is like, he doesn't understand why are people mad. And I think Mark Henry, even once again, he recently was talking about how he felt like Hulk Hogan hasn't been 100% sincere as far as in trying to apologize. And maybe if Hogan starts showing that sincerity and or at least I want to say maybe he doesn't know and he needs to learn and get a better understanding of what he is saying and why people are having issue with it, that could probably be the catalyst that can make it getting back to people cheering him. Because let's face it, at his age, Hogan should be revered and celebrated as this all-time great legend that helped put professional wrestling on the map. But instead, he's getting super booed, and God bless his soul, the Iron Sheik would be very proud of that. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but man, what can we say? I know a lot of this Hogan did to himself, honestly. So that's where we have to end it. But that being said, it's cool to see as a wrestling fan, particularly just as a wrestling fan, getting out of Hogan's personal life here. Because like I said, I don't know the guy personally and all that stuff and everything. But when it comes to it as a professional wrestling, it is really cool to know that we had Hulk Hogan, John Cena, The Rock, and Roman Reigns. We were lacking Stone Cold Steve Austin, my all-time favorite. But yeah, to have 4 out of 5 of the top 5 biggest faces in the WWE history on the same show, that was pretty cool. All right, we're going to be moving on now to the main event here. All right, so the main event. I'm going to say The Rock. The Rock actually, he did a lot of putting over. The Rock put over Cody Rhodes as the face of the company. He put over Roman Reigns as the true tribal chief, and he finally has put over CM Punk and giving him the main event spot of a show. So yeah, this kind of what it felt like. The Rock, he wanted to endorse, this show felt like, in terms of The Rock, he wanted to really endorse Cody, Cody, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns and everything by making sure that they were shining in their spots to where they were on the show. But that being said, yeah, the main event, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. Okay, so the storyline, the build-up, tremendous. I have really enjoyed CM Punk's work from 2024 heading to 2025, even if he was injured for most of the time. The promos have been fire. Seth Rollins, he does all the goofy, all the dancing and everything, but very much like John Cena, when he comes down to getting serious, boy, I think Seth Rollins could definitely cut a pretty good promo, but I think CM Punk was really winning it in a lot of the promo battles and everything. But overall, it's just really good to see that even if there is real life animosity between these guys, they're able to put that to a side and work together, and that's what they did here in the main event. They put on what I thought was a really great match. It had some great counters. You saw CM Punk jumping over the top rope, basically doing some risks that we didn't see him doing a lot, because I'm thinking he might wanted to take it easy. But in this one, Punk was definitely taking some pretty big bumps and everything, and you get concerned because you're hoping that nothing's gonna tear and everything. But overall, Punk has kept himself healthy, and I'm glad to see it, because I want to see CM Punk in his career in big time fashion in WWE. And yeah, him and Seth were going at it. They were really hitting each other with their finishers. Man, there was one point Seth really nailed CM Punk with his go to sleep, and bam, after that, man, Cody, it was CM Punk, he ended up kicking out of that, and we saw CM Punk hit Seth Rollins with the curb style. So they were going Rock and Stone Cold WrestleMania style, how they would do each other's finisher moves to one another. So that was really awesome to see. It was a back and forth. Crowd was really getting into it, so I really enjoyed this. I think this was the best match of the night, and that's already on 3 matches that I thought were really good. But yeah, this match was great. there were so many false finishes at the end where it looked like, okay, they're going to have Punk lose. Oh, they're going to have Seth Rollins lose. Oh, no, here he was going back and forth, and it was really great to see. But in the end, CM Punk actually ends up nailing the go to sleep to Seth Rollins and scores the clean 1-2-3. CM Punk is your winner. I don't know if this is going to be one and done or if they're finally just going to move on from this feud and head for WrestleMania. But yeah, it was cool to see CM Punk get the big win. This was his first main event in a while. I think first time wrestling on Raw, period, since 2014 when he faced Billy Gunn. I think it was shortly before the Royal Rumble 2014. So that was really cool to see. Punk looked great. He did a great job of selling it, and that's the thing. Like, sometimes you don't know if Punk is injured for real or not, just because he is that good of a seller. So that is something for you for sure. Now, when it comes to CM Punk, I noticed this spot, and this goes back to what I talk about, the professionalism. There's a spot right after he's done pinning him. CM Punk sort of buries his face into Seth Rollins' neck, and you can tell that this is probably where he's having a moment just to talk to him, but he's wanted to keep it sealed and everything. And he's probably, having a moment with him, just thanking him that, they were able to put their stuff aside and make some money together and do business and stuff like that. And it goes back to, man, AEW, communication is key. And I think what we just saw in here, this is what happens when communication is key. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, these guys obviously those two guys didn't like CM Punk, but they put those differences aside, use what they felt in real life, translated into the storyline, and made some absolute bangers. I mean, I think the matches he's had with Drew, the match he had here, CM Punk's given us 4 bangers now, just fantastic. The fact that they were able to put that aside and show their professionalism shows really what could have been in AEW. Imagine if, with whatever went down with CM Punk, the Bucks, Hangman, and Kenny Omega and Tony Khan, had they just been able to, communicate, had it been able to get to the point where they could communicate this, man, imagine where we could be here. But it wasn't meant to be, and hey, Tony Khan had to make the decision that he had to make. But WWE, they certainly reap the benefits of it, and I'm glad they were able to see things here. So I mentioned earlier in this review that where I think things are going. So let's assume that this was The Rock's way of writing himself off a WWE program and just basically ending the feud right now with Cody and Roman, and they're just going to conjure it up back when it's a more available, because I know The Rock has got to do some filming for, I think, some reshoots for the live action version of Moana. So we don't know. Let's assume that okay, we don't get The Rock at all WrestleMania 41. There are 3 contenders who I feel are indeed most likely to win the Royal Rumble. And it really comes down, we're going to either have a 3-time winner, a 2-time winner, or a first-time winner. Either John Cena is going to become the second man in WWE history to win 3 Royal Rumbles, joining Stone Cold Steve Austin, and basically become the first man to win the Royal Rumble in 3 different decades, having won 2008, 2013, and possibly now 2025. Cena making history there, and they're going to have him go ahead and tell the story of becoming a 17-time world champion heading into WrestleMania. Or they do the 2-time winner, which is Roman Reigns, 10 years after winning his very first Royal Rumble. Because when you look at it from that standpoint, Roman Reigns basically, I could see where they want to make that up to him, because, it was done very unnaturally. The booking wasn't doing Roman Reigns any favors in terms of making him be accepted by the audience as that hero. And now they have an opportunity where the fans do love Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is now very much respected. You can have Roman Reigns come out and the fans would pop for it, and Roman Reigns Roman Reigns goes on and wins he goes on to win the Royal Rumble. And personally, I've mentioned several times here on my own channel, I'm not a fan of the repeat winners, even though, obviously Stone Cold won 3 of them. I just felt like just at a certain period after several years, as you got into 2000s and 2010s, like, there was so much talent on the roster that, hey, let's give this guy a big win. But I actually wouldn't mind if Roman did win the Royal Royal Rumble for a second time and get that much deserved, truly more natural feeling Royal Rumble booking victory and everything. So I wouldn't mind seeing that again. Or we get what I hope most is a first time winner. That man right there, CM Punk. Man, I want to see CM Punk go ahead and win the Royal Rumble. I want to see him do that. Finally get that win. I thought he should have won last year. Yeah, he would have got injured and he would have had to go back to Cody Rhodes anyway. But I felt like, hey, Cody won it already. Let's see CM Punk get that win. But of course, CM Punk might not even care. He just might want that main event of WrestleMania. So, if you're gonna have one or two on your accolades, what's it gonna be? Do you want that CM? Do you want the main event of WrestleMania, or do you want to, hey, I want a Royal Rumble? So yeah, I guess WrestleMania. So I mean, if CM Punk's cool with it, I'm cool with it too. So yeah, but those got to be the top three favorites for the men's Royal Rumble. It's got to be John Cena for the third time, Roman Reigns for the second time, or CM Punk for the first time. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm gonna be there in person to witness my very first ever Royal Rumble because I've been to all the other three big shows. Now this will be the fourth one. I'm really excited to look forward. So it's gonna be interesting. Overall, I thought the very first Monday Night Raw on Netflix, I watched it on demand. I did not watch it live stream, but from what everybody was saying, the stream was very smooth. I thought it was a good show. Definitely not a bad show. One of the greatest Raws of all time. One of the most historic Raws of all time. And it's cool to see CM Punk got to main event that. And the ratings came in for, as far as the viewership, 4.9 million viewers tuned in. Woo! That's some attitude error ratings right there. That just goes to show you just how many people are streaming now compared to just cable. I haven't had cable in almost 11 years. So yeah, that's pretty cool to see. So yeah, WWE is still booming. Even if we don't get The Rock and Roman, Rock and Cody, WWE is still hot right now. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing where things end up going. Alrighty, gonna go ahead and look at the chat and see what we got going on here. Yeah, please excuse my OBS. I don't know what's going on. It's doing something really weird now where it's not going up and everything and stuff like that. Getting bigger text, even though I got the coding in there, right? So hopefully that gets fixed. But nothing new much going on other than we got Big Boss. Hey, thank you, Big Boss, for joining the chat. Big Boss says, I like 2016 Roman Reigns. Everybody else overreaction so much. you like 2016 Roman Reigns, everybody else overreaction so much. So I guess you're trying to say, yeah, you like 2016 Roman Reigns, and you thought everybody was overreacting to him. You know, I've always liked Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, I've always said that, particularly when he was in Shield, I love it how he was the muscle of the group, and he really had Roman Reigns really had that great chemistry with John Moxley. Now, at the time, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. You know, he was the muscle of the group and all that stuff. It really worked. And when he went on his own in 2014, I always go back to when he faced he's about to face Randy Orton for SummerSlam, and the fans start cheering, Cena sucks, and Roman just improvised, when Roman Reigns is in the ring, you're damn right John Cena sucks, and he got a huge pop. And I'm like, man, this guy has got something here. Just let him be himself. And he got injured, he came back, and it felt like Vince McMahon's booking was trying so hard to make him like John Cena 2.0, and he can't be John Cena 2.0. He's got to be Roman Reigns. And I thought they were doing such a disservice to this guy, and the fans were booing and hating on him. But when you look at his matches, especially like 2015 against Bryan Danielson, which is one of the, at the time, Daniel Bryan, he's one of those guys that I felt like, man, Roman is really showing here that, he can definitely hang with the main events. You just got to let this guy blossom, be himself, and it'll take some time, but let him get there. And, man, they just weren't doing that with him. But finally, they let him do this tribal chief character, and he got over, and the heel turn worked, and now look at him, he's this beloved baby face. And so that really just goes to show you that, yeah, I think Roman had it in him all the time to be great. You just had to have the proper booking, and finally they got there. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing as far as where that goes more for Roman now in this babyface run. Big Boss also just commented, Liv and Rhea was last women's standing match. What happened? Good question. Yes, I noticed that too. It should have been. It makes you wonder, are they going to do one more match at the Royal Rumble? It would have been fitting for this to be a last women's standing match, but they changed it. Maybe I don't know if time wise. Yeah, maybe it was a time issue, but I mean, you have unlimited time here. Unlimited time when it comes to this. So I don't know what's going on with that. Basically, on Netflix, they went over a little bit over 3 hours and everything, and stuff. You know, speaking of, by the way, being themselves, I forgot to mention this when I was talking about Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa here. Let me see. Do I still have that image of it up? Where was it? Yeah, right there. I wanted to say Solo Sikoa, I think, definitely has a bright future ahead of him as a main event player. The thing about it is, it's this character that they had him playing as the new tribal chief. It just comes off so much as Roman Reigns. It's Roman Reigns shtick, not his own shtick. And I think now I want to see Solo Sikoa be himself more, because I think when you have him doing the Ula Fala and you're asking the people to acknowledge him, yeah, it got the heel heat and what they wanted, because the idea was supposed to be that he's this knockoff version of the tribal chief. That's kind of what they wanted him to be. And everything and stuff like that, and he played it. But I think the thing is, you can only get so far, because everyone associates all that whole acknowledge me, the Ula Fala, it's associated with Roman Reigns. So I really want to see, as far as Solo Sikoa, what he's going to do different now. I think hopefully they're going to have Jacob Fatu. I would love it if he goes like, Solo, I hate you. And then, he attacks him, said it, hitting them with the whole, I love you, Solo. Jacob Fatu, that dude's a beast, by the way. So I think doing Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, that is definitely the right next thing to do as far as the story goes there. But yeah, I think Solo Sikoa can be a main event player to come. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what he does now that he's not restrained to doing what Roman Reigns was doing all this time. Let's get back to the chat here. Big Boss says, Roman versus AJ Styles. The last time we saw that match, 2016, and I still waiting to see more. Yeah, that is a match that I'm surprised they did not do during Roman Reigns' lengthy title reign, along with like Bobby Lashley. Like, him versus AJ Styles would have been a good one, and that's one of those matches right there. Roman absolutely had 2 back-to-back bangers with AJ Styles back then, and that's one of those matches where it was becoming more and more clear that Roman Reigns has that it factor. This guy can go in the ring. This guy has the main event potential, but why do we gotta keep insisting on trying to book him like he's John Cena 2.0 at the time? Oh man. So yeah, but yeah, I would love to see Roman and AJ Styles, go one-on-one again. Big Boss says, what was your favorite era to watch wrestling? Oh man, Attitude Era. The Attitude Era, man, for sure. Definitely the Attitude Era. Like I said, that was the year I grew up watching the New Generation era, as mentioned earlier on, but it was the Attitude Era that got me hooked when Stone Cold Steve Austin rised. Particularly it was the night after WrestleMania 14, Monday Night Raw, when he told Vince McMahon, I'm going to keep doing things the hard way, and that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. When he was doing stuff like that, that was cool. D-Generation X, when we got X-Pac and Road Dogg and Billy Gunn becoming official members, like, that was just amazing. Attitude Era was just an amazing time. So yeah, it's definitely still my favorite era. Obviously, not everything has aged well from the Attitude Era, especially by today's standards, but overall, in terms of storylines and the character development, it was great. And for years, even though I continued watching WWE all the way to the current era now, I always was saying is, I don't want the Attitude Era back. I just want the excitement of the Attitude Era back. And thankfully, with the way Triple H's booking has gone, I found myself getting more excited about WWE, With Vince McMahon in the late 2010s, a lot of it felt like, oh, yeah, this is exciting, and then it kind of was down. It was like up and down. But now, there's more ups, I feel, with Triple H's booking than there has been downs. And Vince McMahon, like I said, man, with the people he surrounded himself in the booking, back in the day, the Attitude Era to 80, Yeah, a lot of that stuff was genius, but I think Vince McMahon just kind of got really caught up in his ways towards the 20 teens and everything, and it just was not evolving the product. And thankfully, we are in better times now. I mean, WWE's success speaks for itself. I mean, look how many people just tuned in on Netflix to watch it live. Big Boss also says, if you have the power to change one WrestleMania match ending, any match, what is it going to be? It's gotta be Stone Cold Steve Austin The Rock WrestleMania 17. Even though that's my all-time favorite match, that is the moment where you could really pinpoint why it took almost 20 years to get WWE back to being so hot again, because nobody wanted to see heel Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is something Austin and Jim Ross have mentioned themselves. You know, I was a loyal Stone Cold fan. I was still with him because, you know, I was just that much of a loyal fan, but it's not the Stone Cold Steve Austin that I wanted. I did a video talking about that in detail on my top 4 moments to Stone Cold save somebody, and I was saying that, you know, I was loyal, but it's not the Stone Cold that I wanted to be. Eventually, yeah, the boom period for WWE around that time in the early 2000s still would have gone down, especially with there being no competition. But I think 2001 could have been a lot better had we got that babyface Stone Cold Steve Austin. Man, look at that all-time great moment when Stone Cold Steve Austin came out there and he completely went ahead and demolished Team WCW and ECW, the Alliance, and then apparently they turned him. They turned him into a what was that? They turned him back into a heel the following that Sunday or whatever, the following week at the Invasion pay-per-view, and apparently there was a big spike in the ratings because they thought, oh, the old Stone Cold's back, and they said, oh, he's back to he's back to being the new Stone Cold, and a lot of people they went away. And they never came back. In fact, a lot of people are now just coming back. So, yeah, that goes to show it would have to be that ending to WrestleMania 17 for sure. I think that ending more than anything else was more damaging to the business of not just WWE, but professional wrestling. See, Big Boss says, for me, WrestleMania 19, Triple H versus Booker T. Yeah, that one was that was a rough one, right? Man, Triple H doing the pedigree and taking forever. It's not even so much the storyline, you know, it's just when you do that type of story, you got to have the babyface go over. You gotta have them, and they didn't. And it took a long time for Booker T to finally get that world championship. I'm glad that he finally did, but yeah, that's something right there. But you know, with endings like that, to going back to what I was saying, when Triple H, he still went on to have a Hall of Fame career. Booker T still went on to have a Hall of Fame career. I mean, especially Booker T's world title reign. People are still talking to this day. Still talking about how entertaining he was as King Booker. You know, still talking about that to this day, and everything. But that's something that I'm looking back on and everything. You know, I still think Steve Austin and The Rock's WrestleMania 17 ending did more to harm the business than that did. You know, as the Macho Man Randy Savage says, the cream eventually rises to the top. Ooh, yeah, it did for Booker T. You know, whereas that business, it took a long time for the business to really recover. So yeah. Well, hey, you all, thank you so much for everybody who's tuned in via on-demand viewing this or live. Big Boss, thank you so much for engaging in the chat room. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, I got a plethora of WWE reviews and all that stuff and everything. So hopefully, you can enjoy that and stuff like that. And let's see, one last chat he says here, Rhea versus Bianca needs to happen. I'm with you all the way there. I was just saying that in the stream. I am so ready for that. Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. Definitely WrestleMania main event worthy. I hope it does happen. So yeah, for sure. All right, and so therefore, oh my gosh, am I on my Dragon Ball? Oh, ignore the Dragon Ball content. I forgot to change it to my WWE one, but yeah, you'll see an actual WWE video there on the screen that you guys can go ahead and click, and make sure to go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, as followed by hitting the notification bell so you're notified when my new content is released. I'll have all the description and pinned comment is where you'll be able to find my social media platforms. So until my next review for WWE Royal Rumble 2025, take care.